Hey yo, what is up guys, and welcome back to the channel to another video. So today we'll be talking about Star Wars, the sequel trilogy, the new films, and what I think about them and why in my opinion they didn't work. Because it just feels like three different films, because each film does good on its own while you consider the fact that the other two films doesn't exist, and that's not how a trilogy works. And I'm gonna be going into why actually the prequel trilogy is kind of better than the sequel trilogy. Because, well, let me get this out of the way first. The prequel trilogy is bad, okay? They're all three of them are terrible and horribly bad films with very bad acting, shitty writing, and honestly, some of the shittiest CGI I have seen in my entire life. But it was consistent. Well, it was consistently shitty, but it was consistent in what it was trying to convey. It was trying to convey the life story of Anakin Skywalker, how he became a Jedi, and what happened, and how he became Darth Vader. And no matter how shitty the writing was, we got to know that, and that was clear from the beginning, and we actually knew that. But with the sequel trilogy, it does not know what it's trying to tell, and it's very confused in itself because it's just two directors fighting each other over whose movie gets to define canon, and that's exactly what I said in a previous video, and that's why it doesn't work, because there's no communication between each films. So getting into Star Wars The Force Awakens. So this came out in 2017. I could not go see it in the theaters because, well, I was kind of a dumbass then, and I don't know why I didn't go see it in the theater, but yeah, it came out in 2017. And everyone liked it. It was good. It was an average good film. It made me feel good. Alright, I liked it. I really liked it. I really liked the fact that Star Wars was back and we were getting new movies that didn't look as shitty as the prequels. Because trust me, the prequels were bad. I cannot say enough of it. The prequels are bad. So it was pretty exciting to have new Star Wars films, and J.J. Abrams did not let us down. It was a lovable film with lovable characters. It had enough of New Hope in it to be recognized as like an ode to that, but it was not enough of New Hope that it was considered a copy, because it was not. It introduced us to a lot of new concepts, which I liked. Now, for instance, I absolutely loved Finn, because when I started seeing the movie and Finn took off his helmet in like the first act, I knew this was gonna be a different movie, because we had never seen the face of a stormtrooper before, ever, because they were just mindless killing machines. That's how they were portrayed in the original trilogy, and in the prequels the clones were just the clones of Jango Fett. And they were not really characters in the prequel trilogy. If you want to appreciate the clones, you better watch Clone Wars, because that series is amazing. But that is another conversation. But in the original trilogy, they were just these generic villains. They were just an action movie trope. The mindless beings that you can just kill off without even considering that there are humans underneath the masks. And that's what Finn was. He was the first stormtrooper to take off his helmet. And we got to see that stormtroopers are not just mindless killing machines, they're human beings. And for the First Order, they were kidnapped children. And that was a really awesome storyline, like, to explore in your film. And I did not expect that from a Star Wars film, and that was really awesome. I loved that. And throughout the film, we get to see Finn change into a better human being, because from his first battle, he decided that, I was raised to do war for the First Order, but he saw what the First Order was, and he decided immediately that he did not want to be a part of this. He wanted to be a better person. He wanted to dedicate his life to something better, like the rebellion. That was pretty awesome. And Force Awakens had Rey. I absolutely loved Rey in Force Awakens. She was quirky, she was funny, and she was just a naive little kid. And by the end of the movie, she actually becomes a better person. She grows up. So when Force Awakens first came out, people complained that Rey was a Mary Sue. Rey was really good at everything. Like, she learned to use a Jedi mind trick without ever getting any training, or she knew how to do a lightsaber duel, and she was really strong in the Force without training. Like, those are all dumb complaints. Remember when Luke like literally used the Force to destroy the Death Star without any training, because the only training he got at that point was just Obi-Wan in the Falcon for like a few hours, and that's all he needed to like eyeball a fucking missile into a 1 meter hole to destroy the Death Star, and nobody complained about that. He was really good at flying an X-Wing. He just went into battle head first, being given the fact that he had never been into space before. He just flew speeders, and then he got into the cockpit of an X-Wing and destroyed the Death Star, and no one even complained about that. I mean, that's being a Mary Sue. All protagonists in fantasy and sci-fi are Mary Sues because, well, our heroes have to be good at stuff. So I don't know why people complained when Rey was magically good at stuff too, because she was our protagonist. She's supposed to be good at this stuff. It's like a classic film. It's not trying to be like a very cinematic thing or anything. It's a Star Wars film. So our protagonist has to be good. And remember when Anakin Skywalker was born without a father? Like fucking Jesus Christ. And nobody complained about that. So why did people complain about Rey? I don't know why. That's just stupid. And then I absolutely loved Kylo Ren. We had a new villain that wasn't a mask, because trust me, in the original trilogies, Darth Vader was just a mask for like 2 movies. He was a really awesome character, but we never saw his face. We never saw Anakin Skywalker, but I really love that about Kylo Ren. We got to see Ben Solo. We got to see who he was. We got to see his struggle. We weren't introduced to like an evil character. Like Darth Vader was very evil in the first 2 films. And from the first one, we get to see that Kylo Ren is a conflicted person. He's confused about his ways. He is dedicated to the First Order. He turned to the dark side, but he's not sure. He feels the pull toward the light, and that's awesome. Like, put our hero in conflict, put our villain into conflict too. That makes the movie interesting. And that was cool. And there was General Hux, very annoying classic villain. I absolutely hated the guy. Like, yeah, you're supposed to hate villains. And then there was the Mystery of Snow, just enough to get me interested in the new trilogy. Poe Dameron was an okay character, I guess. They just wanted another Han Solo in the new trilogy. He's like a really Han Solo type, and there's no other way of putting it. And Leia was awesome in the movie, of course. I love Leia. Her character is awesome, and Carrie Fisher was alive at that point, and that was really... And yeah, that's why she felt natural in the movie. And then there was the cameo at the end of Luke meeting Rey. And I was excited. I was really excited for The Last Jedi to come out. And then it did. And I kind of liked it. I mean, The Last Jedi is a very dumb movie. Like, don't get me wrong, it's very dumb, but it's really good in some places too. And let me tell you why. So, there are a few things before this. J.J. Abrams was not supposed to make The Rise of Skywalker, or the 3rd film in the trilogy. Rian Johnson was supposed to finish up. But Last Jedi came out, and almost 99% of Star Wars fans literally made videos all day, every day about how Rian Johnson is the worst and he ruined Star Wars, and they started taking a shit at him. That's what got Disney scared. And that's why they brought back JJ, because, JJ made the first one and people like that. So let's just fire Ryan and get JJ back and make the 3rd film and make everyone happy. But that ultimately turned into a train wreck, and I'm gonna get into that a bit later. But yeah, coming back to The Last Jedi. So it was a good film. I actually liked it. It opened with something that I didn't like. One of the many things that I didn't like about this film, but I liked it nonetheless, is the fact that Luke threw away his lightsaber. That was dumb. A Jedi's weapon deserves more respect. Especially the weapon that was used by your father and you for many years. You just don't throw it away. Even if you're angry with the Jedi, even if you think the Jedi are dumb, you do not throw away your own lightsaber. That was very inconsistent to Luke's character that I think Ryan did not understand. I guess he was trying to change a lot of things about Star Wars, like how people view Star Wars, but while in that process, he actually forgot what Star Wars was and did a lot of stuff that was really inconsistent with the characters, not the story. You can do whatever you want with the story, but you cannot mess with characters that have been developed over years and years and people know and love. So Luke being scared to teach Rey was not inconsistent to his character. It was not something being repeated. It was new and it was good. I wish there were more stuff like that in the film, but most of the film is Ryan trying very hard to make this a different film and then forgetting what he was actually making, a Star Wars film. So yeah. So coming back to the stuff, we get to see Luke being reluctant to teach Rey, which is awesome because if Rey just came and Luke agreed to teach her and then Luke became like a second Obi-Wan and taught everything to Rey, that would have been boring, and that would have been like 10 minutes of the entire movie. That's just you can't fit that into a montage, you can't make that into a character arc. So I think what Ryan did with Luke was pretty awesome, because the last time he tried to teach a student so strong with the Force, he basically created a new Darth Vader for the galaxy. And you don't just go back to teaching people after that. You're going to be reluctant to teach people, and that's really awesome about Luke's character in this movie. So that's a plus point for this movie, but the first thing was done. Secondly, I hated the movie for what it did to Finn. I fucking hated it. Like, JJ worked so hard to put into perspective Finn's character and why he does what he does, and by the end of the film, Finn was a completely fleshed out character. He had his development. He came back to the good guys, and Ryan just decided to take a shit on it because he wanted to, and he just reverses all of the character development from the first film and makes Finn a deserter again because the odds weren't good enough for the Resistance, which is dumb because Finn knew when he joined the Resistance that the chances were low. He turned even though the odds were against them because he did not want to be Stormtrooper. Making him a deserter was a very dumb choice, and that eventually led to the story arc in Canto Bight with Rose, which is completely unnecessary. We do not need Rose to tell Finn what war does to children, because Finn was abducted as a fucking child and forced into being a Stormtrooper to fight wars for the First Order. You do not need another character to tell Finn that war is bad, okay? That is just dumb. You do not need a 30-minute sequence in another planet, which is completely unnecessary to the film, and it takes you out of the suspense. Like, Ryan dug himself a hole in this one. Like, it's a really big hole. It was a very dumb sequence, and I hated that about this film. Another thing that I really loved about the movie was the scene with Snoke, Rey, and Kylo. That scene was fucking awesome, okay? And people still complained about Snoke dying in the second film without us knowing about Snoke. And I don't see why people complained about that, because if I remember correctly, in the original trilogy, we did not know jack shit about the Emperor. I'm gonna repeat that. We did not know jack shit about the Emperor before he was thrown into a fucking reactor in the third film, okay? We did not know jack shit until the prequel trilogies. Hell, we didn't even know his name was Sheev until the prequel trilogy. We just knew that he was an evil guy. He was an evil emperor with Darth Vader as his right hand. And that's it. That's sometimes all you need to know about a character. A character does not have to be like someone from the past. You don't need an entire montage for your villains to make them good villains. I think Snoke was completely alright as an unknown evil emperor figure for the newer generation. I was completely fine with that he was dead in the second movie, and ultimately Kylo chose to be evil instead of good. I like that. That was very in character for Ben. He destroyed every old thing. Like, that was very consistent with the tone of the movie. Let old things die, because new things have to take its place. That's what the film was about. Like, forgetting the old stuff. That's why I tried to bring a lot of new stuff into the Star Wars universe. And that did not sit right with millions of man-children, which is dumb. I love the film for changing Luke's character. I love the film for making Luke a Grey Jedi. I love the film. I love all of the points that Luke made about the Jedi Order. Jedi Order were dumb. They were blind. At the height of their power, they let the Emperor take power. They let the Republic fall. They literally created the Clone Wars for being blind. They were just dumb, and Luke pointed that out. That was awesome. And finally, one of the Jedi really realizing that the ways of the Jedi are not perfect. That was an awesome arc. But people hated that for some reason because they wanted to see Luke fight Kylo Ren with laser swords. I don't know why people are like this. I literally don't. I guess they just didn't want Star Wars to change for some reason, which is dumb. Because change happens. Alright, screw that. Okay, so back to the scene with Rey, Kylo, and Snoke. That was awesome because one, Snoke died. Like literally Kylo cut him in half to become the new Emperor himself, and that was a really awesome story arc for Kylo. He was the new big bad in the Star Wars universe. We didn't have an faceless, nameless, historyless emperor, like discount emperor. We had someone we knew. We had Ben Solo turning evil and into the Emperor himself, the supreme commander, if you will, of the First Order. That was an awesome storyline. If they followed through, that would have been a really cool arc for Kylo. I mean, take the redemption arc of Kylo from the Rise of Skywalker and put like the evilness from The Last Jedi behind that. Boom, you got a really nice character arc. But they didn't do that. They had to bring back Palpatine for some dumbass reason. Alright, I'm gonna get into more of that when I talk about The Rise of Skywalker, but back to The Last Jedi. So in that scene, Rey and Kylo fight off the Supreme Leader's guards. I don't know why I did so many pauses in that sentence. I've been talking for a while now. So that scene was one of the best action scenes in the entirety of Star Wars. Like, I am counting like all the TV shows and all the movies, and that's one of the best sequences ever in Star Wars. Like, the camera work is absolutely brilliant. The choreography is awesome as well. I loved the color theme of the entire scene. It was like draped in red and flames everywhere, and it was awesome. That is how you shoot an action sequence. That is how you make a lightsaber battle, and I love that. Alright, and at the end, there are some dumb things again in the movie, like the fact that they couldn't destroy the Resistance cruisers while Finn and Rose were in Canto Bight was because their cannons were out of range. You're telling me that ships that go into hyperspace at their will with that amount of power cannot catch up to a smaller ship? Just because why? Because the movie told you to. That is absolutely fucking hilariously dumb, okay? That's dumb. It's dumb because we know that Star Destroyers are incredibly fast and they can keep up with smaller ships. So putting that into a movie was another dumb choice, Ryan. That was not a good part of the film. Like, this wouldn't happen if Ryan didn't reverse Finn's character and sent him to Canto Bight for some arbitrary reason to get some fucking hacker. That was dumb. That entire storyline was dumb and could have been avoided entirely if you just had watched the previous film and seen what JJ had done with Finn. And you'd know that you have a full character on your hands. You don't need to play the same arc over again. You don't need that. That was dumb. Alright, after that was really dumb, but I really love the ending where Luke, as a person who was very irrational in the first films, like in the original trilogy, Luke was this impulsive guy, you know? He dove in headfirst to everything. He didn't think things through. He was irrational. He was just a cocky little kid who had just learned to be a Jedi. In the third film, he decided to get caught by Jabba just so he can put on a show before he kills Jabba. Just so he can swing his lightsabers around and kill someone. That's what being a Jedi meant to him, using the Force as powers, but not as an understanding of himself. And we see in The Last Jedi that finally he found out what being a Jedi means, because he decides to choose the least violent alternative of it all. He uses the Force to project himself in front of Kylo, because he knows that Kylo is just like him when he was young. He is rash, he's irrational. He doesn't think things through, he just dives in head first. That's why he fell for the entire trick. He knew that if he'd shown up with a lightsaber to fight the entire First Order, that would not have worked. That would have been a very dumb decision. What he did was he used the Force and chose a non-violent option. He used Kylo's irrationality against him. And that was a very wise move. That was something really cool. He was sitting halfway across the galaxy and managed to save the Resistance with his last bit of life force. The old Luke would have just gotten into his X-Wing and flew there himself to just die with a million blasters pointed at him. But this Luke, this matured Luke, decided that that was not the way he wanted to go. He wanted to die doing the least violent thing he can. He died using the Force to teach the Resistance and the First Order lessons. He died as a wise Jedi, and that was awesome. That was the perfect send-off to Luke that I absolutely loved about this movie. So yeah. Coming to the third film of the trilogy, Rise of Skywalker. And my god, is this film so bad. It is literally the worst movie I have ever seen in my entire life. Like, it is... I cannot stress enough about how dumb it is. It's just bad. It's just really, really bad. So even after The Last Jedi being a very decent film, it was good. I really enjoyed it. It was dumb in some parts, but most Star Wars movies are dumb. They're space operas with space wizards and laser swords. They're not supposed to be perfect cinematic masterpieces. There will be flaws in them. Alright? Stanley Kubrick didn't make Star Wars films. They're not made by Martin Scorsese or Tarantino. They're supposed to be mistakes in movies. They're not gonna be 100% perfect, but I guess no. Millions of man-children Star Wars fans thought that, The Last Jedi isn't good enough. Rian Johnson is bad because he tried to change things. All that dumb shit. And they started hating on Star Wars. And that got Disney scared, because if you enrage the fans, Disney doesn't get to make other films about Star Wars. People won't watch that if they make a decision that people don't like, and they lose money. So at the end of the day, Disney does not give a shit about Star Wars. They just give a shit about making money. So they decided to give the people what they want. So they thought, I said this exact thing at the beginning of the video, that they thought, okay, so JJ made the first one. He kind of succeeded in making the people happy. He made us a lot of money. And Ryan failed to make us a lot of money. So, let's fire Ryan. Let's get JJ back. The people will be happy. We'll make more money this time, And JJ comes back in, and he decides to make the exact same mistake Ryan did in the previous film. Disregard the entire previous film and make something new. That's not how you make a trilogy, man. You communicate with the other directors. You communicate with the studio. You try to push a consistent message. That's what interconnected films are for. Not for changing everything and retconning the previous film as far as you can. Like, JJ comes back in, he throws everything Ryan did in the bin. We killed off Snoke to make Kylo the main villain. Why do that? Because that might be interesting. Let's not do that, let's apply the old formula again. Like, literally, let's bring back a dead villain who is very dead. Yeah, let's bring back Palpatine, because, that'll get people excited. No, it won't. What would have worked is Kylo as the main villain, as Ryan so obviously set up in the last film. We do not need another all-powerful nameless villain. We already had that. In the original trilogy and the prequels, we had that. We don't need Palpatine to be this freaking big bad guy that's consistent through all the trilogies. This is not Marvel's The Avengers. Palpatine is not Thanos. I don't know what people think Palpatine to be, but we did not need him to come back because Ryan had made a really good decision by killing off Snoke. We didn't need another all-powerful villain. We needed a human being that we knew as a character, so his redemption arc would be satisfying. I mean, I'm gonna repeat this again. If you had just gone through with Ryan's plan and made Kylo the ultimate bad guy and then made a redemption arc for him, I would have actually watched that movie and I would have enjoyed it. I don't know if I'm banging my table, but yeah, I just get stressed up when I talk about the rise of Skywalker. I think this decision made by JJ was really dumb. So, let's not talk about what should have been. Let's get into what happened in the movie. So, from the opening scroll, we get to know that Palpatine is back. How? No, they're not gonna tell you that. They're not gonna tell you how. They're just gonna give you a half-assed explanation that's vague enough to be implied, but not accurate enough to know what the actual fuck is going on. The only explanation that they give us in the opening act is the dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider unnatural. No, we don't need that shit, man. Take your bullshit, put it back up your ass, and give us something solid. But no, they won't. They just gave us a bunch of bullshit about how Palpatine was back. And in about like the last by the ending of the film, a Resistance guy just said, cloning, dark science, secrets only the Sith knew. That's not an explanation to how Palpatine came back. I mean, the guy was literally thrown 1,000,000 feet into a reactor that exploded, and then after everyone got out, the Death Star exploded. There was literally nothing left in that place. No one can survive that shit, no matter how strong with the Force you are. Palpatine was not a Jedi. He did not become a Force ghost. Even if he became a Force ghost and became one with the Force, how did he materialize again? If you do that, that means all the Jedi can materialize again too. That makes Force users immortal. That's not how it works. If you just bring back a villain that was so clearly killed in the previous films, he was like dead, man. If you just bring that guy back, you basically undo the entire original trilogy. You just disregarded the work of George Lucas. He worked in those 3 films to kill Palpatine and to redeem Darth Vader. But no, you just decided to take a shit on his films and bring Palpatine back so you could make more money. But you didn't, did you? The Rise of Skywalker failed anyway. So yeah, it was just such a dumb decision. I don't know why they even went through that. Because you just disregarded the achievements of the previous films. That's just dumb. And I hated that. I hated that about the film. And when I went into the movie and after the trailers, I was just not excited to see Palpatine again because I did not want to see Palpatine again. He was dead. Let him stay dead. But no, they didn't. And then the film actually starts and it introduces so many new things in just one movie, and it's just dumb. Like, this movie is like, okay, we need to do this impossible thing. How do we do it? The Force. That's what we do. The only explanation we'll give is the Force. How is Palpatine back? The Force. How can Kylo and Rey send lightsabers to each other? The Force. How can Kylo figure out where Rey is? The Force. How can Kylo be redeemed into a better person? The Force. That's literally it. The entire movie's answer to everything is the Force. Like, that's just dumb. The Force is not just some plot device you get to use whenever you dig yourself into a hole. That it doesn't work like that, man. I was fine with the Force healing part because at least it was introduced in The Mandalorian. And we actually saw Baby Yoda do it. We knew going in that Force healing is a thing in canon now. But lightsaber teleportation, that is just absolutely dumb. How does that even work? If you can use the Force to grab objects anywhere in the universe, and Rey knew how to do it, why didn't you just use the Force to grab like the Sith holocron or whatever it was, the Wayfinder? I don't know, it just opened up so many avenues and it was dumb. And then there was Luke catching his lightsaber, which was also dumb. And JJ only included in the film because this is gonna be a surprise. Do you know why he did that? He did that because he needed to take a shit on Rian Johnson's movie. Yay, so mature, man. He did it because in the previous film, Luke threw his lightsaber. I didn't like that. A lot of people didn't like that, and JJ didn't like that. Okay, cool. But you do not need to add an entire new scene in your movie just to say that you didn't like that shit. Luke only catches his lightsaber and says, a Jedi's weapon deserves more respect, because in the last film, Ryan made Luke throw away that lightsaber. And that literally opened up so many possibilities that could have been used to make this a better film. But JJ didn't do that. JJ didn't use that shit anymore, because he only used that shit to make a point to Ryan that he didn't like The Last Jedi. And this entire movie is like a big middle finger to Rian Johnson. And JJ saying that hey Ryan, I did not like your movie, it sucked, okay? This is what the entire movie is about. JJ flipping off to Rian Johnson, which is just dumb. We are just fighting over dumb shit and resulting into bad Star Wars film. Like, that's what you did, JJ. You wanted to flip off to Ryan, so you made a really terrible Star Wars film. You made a really terrible ending to the Star Wars saga, which was, I'm gonna say it, which was a very dumb decision, man. Man, I'm so worked up about this movie. I have been really angry at this movie for a long time, and I needed to vent. Fucking hell. Alright. Then now Force Ghosts can catch material objects. You introduce that in your movie and then you don't use it again. If that is the case, you could literally have all of the Force Ghosts of all of the Jedi show up with their lightsabers, and just made that into the final battle with all of the dead Jedi fighting Palpatine. I mean, I would have loved that, you know? Rey standing in the middle with all of the dead Jedi behind her with all their lightsabers, because, you know, Rey can grab everything in the universe by using the Force, you know? Because the movie did that. Use that shit. Use that dumb shit to at least give us something good. But no, you only use that dumb shit to give us more dumb shit, which is not good. You can use some dumb movie stuff to do some good, but you didn't. Alright? And I did not want the final showdown to decide the fate of the galaxy to be a girl holding two lightsabers deflecting lightning. That is not how I wanted the final battle for the fate of the universe to go. Because trust me, the dogfight above Palpatine and Rey was just completely unnecessary, and it was so inconsequential because I knew from the moment that these Star Destroyers are not gonna mean shit. Because you see, JJ, when you're trying to introduce a new threat in your movies, you need to actually do shit that's creative, you know? And I don't think that's something you realize. I think you lost your creativity after you made The Force Awakens. Or, you know, I don't know, maybe you had your creativity, but you didn't want to use it because you were so busy flipping off to Rian Johnson. Something I should have included in the part where I talked about Force Awakens was I hated Starkiller Base. You know why? Because it didn't invent a new way to introduce a threat to the galaxy. It made a bigger Death Star. You know, the Death Star was scary, it could destroy one planet at once. You know what's even more scary? A bigger Death Star that can destroy 3 planets at once. Yay, creativity, man. Creativity 100. That's how you do it. Now, I was all fine and dandy with that because, you know, that was used once. And I was okay with that. And then Ryan came in and he introduced a new threat to the galaxy. That was Kylo Ren. That was not some planet-destroying weapon. or a million Star Destroyers. It was an evil leader. It was an evil emperor. It was an evil tyrant trying to rule the galaxy. And that was interesting. That was like another emperor, because the galaxy had that, and having that kind of tyrant ruling the galaxy again was actually a great prospect. But no, why use that? Let's just make 1,000 Death Stars, give them let's just make like 1,000 Star Destroyers and give them all Death Star lasers so they can, destroy planets. Yay, threat, tension, all that shit. That didn't work. That does not work. Alright? So that battle was completely pointless. So coming back to Rey and Palpatine, the reason Rey couldn't quote unquote kill Palpatine was because then his spirit would transfer into her body and she'd be the new Empress. Okay, so maybe they used like a very creative way to work around that. You know what? They didn't. Rey ultimately killed Palpatine. But what the movie said would happen if Rey killed Palpatine didn't happen, because Star Wars. Oh no, wait. Because the dark side of the Force is the pathway to many abilities some consider unnatural. That's the explanation for everything, That's why everything happens. The dark side of the Force and the Force. Literally, man, that's what the entire movie is. If Rey had cut Palpatine in half with her lightsaber, the spirit of Palpatine would have latched onto Rey and she'd become the new Empress. And that didn't happen because Rey used his own Force lightning to kill him. That is still Rey actively killing him. You cannot introduce a condition in your movie and then take a shit on that condition 10 minutes later. You cannot do that. You literally impose that threat of killing Palpatine, so Rey would have a problem deciding what to do with Palpatine. But no, you just made Rey kill Palpatine like 10 minutes later. That didn't work. That's just dumb. That is actually very dumb. So yeah, I didn't like that. And another thing I really hated about the Rise of Skywalker was Princess Leia. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but yeah, Princess Leia was one of the parts I absolutely hated about the film. So when the sequel trilogy was originally planned, I don't even believe what I'm saying, because when I see the prequel trilogy, I see an unplanned pile of hot garbage. But yeah, apparently they planned this shit. They planned all the train wrecks and shit. So apparently when it was planned, The Force Awakens was supposed to be Han's movie, where Han would finally die, get peace in his life. It was about Han. And the second movie was about Luke and how he would find peace and die. And the last movie was supposed to be about Leia and how she found peace in life and died. But sadly, Carrie Fisher passed away before, they could make The Rise of Skywalker. She had wrapped her filming on The Last Jedi and Force Awakens, and then she passed away. So what did JJ decide to do? He decided to keep the character of Leia. And I respect that. I like the fact that JJ at least respected this about the original trilogy and tried to keep the character of Princess Leia alive through his film. Now, I would have absolutely been fine with JJ using like old footage, which he actually did. He used old footage of Leia from Carrie Fisher from The Force Awakens, the deleted scenes and stuff. And he used that stuff to keep the character of Leia alive, and I would have been fine with that if she was in the film for like the first 30 minutes or something. If you had given her a meaningful death in the first 30 minutes of the film, use that as an emotional driving force for Rey's character development. You use that for character developments of Finn and Poe, and you use that as the tool of redemption arc for Kylo. I would have been fine with that. That actually would have been a very interesting film. You know what? Now I'm talking about this, I really like the way that I think Rise of Skywalker should have ended. At the beginning we have Kylo as the big bad. From the previous film, he's turned all evil now. He's like the supreme commander now. And by the first 30 minutes of the movie, Princess Leia dies and the Resistance has lost their leader. That would have been an actual threat to the galaxy. With the Resistance's leader gone, and the First Order being more powerful than ever under a new evil leader, that would have been actually some awesome stakes. That's a movie I would have watched. I would have liked to see that struggle of the Resistance coming over that hurdle and actually saving the galaxy. That would have been a really awesome film instead of Palpatine and, you know, the big crazy CGI battle. That was dumb. So what I'm trying to say is, the clips of Carrie Fisher that J.J. Abrams used, they could have been used way better to be story elements. The main problem that this film faces is writing. It's terribly written. It's just a hot pile of garbage. It's a mess. It's rushed. It's not thought through well. It's badly executed, and it's just bad. Now, I've been talking about Star Wars for 40 minutes now. That's been a long time. So there's a million reasons why I hate The Rise of Skywalker, and I can talk about all day. I can talk about this film all day, but I'm not gonna, because I'm really tired from all the talking. So yeah, I guess I didn't even finish some of my theories and some of my stuff that I introduced in this video, and I'm sorry about that, because, you know, this is all unscripted, and this is just me ranting about the new trilogy for like 40 minutes straight. So yeah, I'm gonna leave you guys to it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more content. Smash the like button if you did, and I hope you had an absolutely fantastic time.